Chris Mannix, always great to talk to one of the great NBA writers. Former ball boy with the Boston Celtics. What do you think about that? Celtics, the favorites this next season?
I think that's fair at this point. Like Brogdon adds the playmaking they said they were looking for. Gallinari adds, a ninth or 10th type of man that can spell Al Horford during the regular season and give you scoring potentially in the postseason. The one concern I have with Boston at this point is you got a lot of guys that are used to playing NBA minutes. And how does that all work? I mean, Brogdon was a starter during his 3 years in Indiana. He's been a bench player. He's saying all the right things right now, but you get to January and February. Is he going to be happy in a supporting role? So how the minutes shake out and how everybody accepts those roles will be interesting. But on paper, they should be right up there with Golden State as co-favorites.
You were at the Summer League, so I'm sure there's a lot of chatter about Kyrie and Kevin Durant. Is there a pecking order of who gets traded first between those two?
Expectation is that the Nets won't do a deal involving Kyrie Irving until they've figured out what they're going to do with Kevin Durant. You brought this up right before I came on. Like, will the Nets trade Kevin Durant, or is it possible he could be back? Brooklyn has set a pretty high asking price to teams that have been calling. And as recently as this weekend, where everyone has convened at Summer League, that price has not changed. It's a couple of all-star level players. It's draft picks. It's bigger than Anthony Davis, bigger than Rudy Gobert, the biggest asking price probably in NBA history. If they stick with that asking price, there's a pretty good chance Durant is back in training camp with the Nets. The only way I think that they are able to move Durant is if they come down a little bit to maybe one all-star level player and draft pick. Still a big package, but not the kind of haul that they would have been hoping for when they originally started mapping out a way to do a Durant deal. So it's possible. I'll tell you what, something else, Dan. I wrote something today for SI.com about how there are executives in the league, ones that aren't really involved in the Durant sweepstakes, that are in a way rooting for the Nets to hold on to Durant. This trend of players that sign contracts and then force their way out is growing. You had James Harden a couple of years ago with 2 years left on his deal say, I want out, and got traded. Ben Simmons, 4 years left on his deal when he asked out of Philadelphia, said, I want out, eventually got traded. You recently saw Bradley Beal sign a 5-year extension, $250 million. Nobody really expects him to be in Washington for the duration of that deal. Team executives, they kind of want to curb this a little bit, this trend of players signing contracts and be like, you know what? It's not really what I thought it was going to be. I want to get out of here. So the teams that want Durant are still hopeful they can get him, but there are teams out there that want to see the Nets and anyone else involved in situations like this draw a line in the sand and say, you signed a contract, you're with us, you've got to honor it.
Yeah, I wouldn't accommodate either of these guys. When I hear that he wants to go to Phoenix, I'd say, tough bleep. Kyrie wants to go to the Lakers. Tough. We're going to do something that's good for us.
Yeah, and I addressed this in the story. Like, there are executives that want to do that, but ownership in the NBA is soft. Like, the ownership, they don't want to be in uncomfortable situations. They don't want to be seen as anti-player in case it comes back to bite them down the line. They just don't have the stomach for getting into that kind of public fight with one of their players. I had someone suggest to me, wondering why NBA teams don't look at the success the Green Bay Packers had. I mean, look, Aaron Rodgers demanded a trade. The Packers said, go fly a kite. It worked out for Rodgers individually. The Packers went 13-4, and now he's under new contract with them for the long term. I just think it comes down to, will owners support a front office for telling a player to take a hike? And right now, there aren't more than a handful of NBA owners that have the stomach to do that.
Why does Kevin Durant want out?
It's a good question. I don't think there's a clear answer at this point. He's obviously been frustrated by everything that went on in Brooklyn last year. From the beginning with Kyrie to how a James Harden situation that he thought was going to work out didn't work out. The end of the season, getting swept by Boston. I don't know specifically if there's one thing that pushed him over that line, but that's where he is and where he still is right now in terms of wanting a trade. Again, it comes down to will Brooklyn draw the line, say, we're going to get this back. We're going to get dollar for dollar value back, or else you're going to be in uniform next year. I don't know if Sean Marks and Joe Tsai are willing to do that. But again, there are a lot of executives that want them to do that. They want to stop this trend that is beginning to grow in the NBA.
Any other suitors for Kyrie other than the Lakers?
No, I talked to someone in Dallas recently, and it doesn't seem like the Mavericks are eager to get into that mix. They're still on the lookout for more help to put around Luka Doncic, but I don't get the sense Dallas is heavily involved. The Lakers seem to be it, honestly. And the Lakers, I think right now they know they're it, and that's why they're not being overly aggressive in giving up a first-round draft pick or taking on a bad contract that makes them absorb more salary than the Nets will. So they're kind of in a wait-and-see mode. But, you saw what happened over the weekend, Dan, where Russell Westbrook shows up at a Summer League game, LeBron James at the same Summer League game, and they don't interact. It makes you wonder, no matter how many things Darvin Ham is saying. Darvin Ham is like what's the meme where the guy's everything's on fire and he's like, all is well. Darvin Ham's like, I can't wait to get Russell Westbrook back at a training camp. Darvin's a great guy, and I'm sure deep down he or on some level he believes it, but deep down he's got to know that's probably going to be untenable. So if we get into August, Dan, that's where I think all this is going to go. Remember when Kyrie demanded a trade from Cleveland, he didn't get traded until late August. So I think this is going to drag out, during the summer. And when we get to late August, maybe early September, do the Nets say, you know what? Maybe Brooklyn isn't lying. Maybe they will bring him back. Maybe there is somebody else out there, and we'll give you that 2027 first. We'll take Joe Harris's contract back just to make sure we don't have to go into this season with Russell Westbrook on the roster.
He's Chris Mannix, Sports Illustrated senior writer. You were at the Summer League last night. Chet Holmgren thought we were going to have the showdown with Paolo Banchero, but they've shut him down. What do you make of, I know guys have been great in summer leagues before. I fell in love with Josh Hart in the summer league a few years ago. What are you seeing from Holmgren that will translate into success during the regular season?
The list of summer league stars is long and terrible. That's Nate Robinson, I believe, still has his jersey retired at the Vegas Summer League. The skills are obvious. I mean, he might be the highest upside player in this draft. He's a 7-footer that can collect the ball off the glass and start a fast break. The number of centers in today's NBA that can do that, it's one. It's Nikola Jokic. He's basically it. So if Chet can play the position and rebound and dribble like that, he's going to be a real weapon offensively. The three-point shot is obviously there. The playmaking, everything is obviously there. He's the skinniest player I've ever seen. I mean,
skinnier than Manute Bol?
Yeah. I mean, comparable at least. I mean, I haven't. The comparisons I was making in modern NBA, I guess, have been Durant as a rookie and Giannis as a rookie. They're bodybuilders compared to him as a rookie. I mean, he is just. I don't know how to describe him, how skinny he is in every facet of his body. And that's a concern. I wrote about this last week. He got a lot of praise for that first Summer League game for knocking down 4 threes and playing off the dribble. Well, I had one coach sitting courtside who was like, yeah, look, he showed skills, but the reason he was shooting jump shots is because he didn't have the strength to get around guys. And that's going to continue to be a problem during his rookie year. He's going to have to make tough shots to score in the NBA right now. And I don't know how strong he's going to get. He's certainly going to add strength. But Dan, as recently as a couple of weeks ago, he was 195. I mean, he's 7 foot, 195 pounds. If he was a boxer, he wouldn't even be a heavyweight. That's how skinny he is. So I don't know how much weight he's going to put on that frame, how much strength that's going to add, what position he's going to slide into at an NBA level, because I watched in that his best game again was that opener against Utah in the Salt Lake Summer League, and I watched guys like Kofi Cockburn and I watched Taco Fall physically control him, and I watched in the second game, Kenny Lofton Jr.'s drive into his chest and make plays. These are summer league players, and you get into the NBA, and NBA players are going to do the same thing and then some. So I think he's going to have some great moments as a rookie. He's going to have some really tough moments as a rookie. And I think 3 years down the line, we're going to figure out if he was worth that number 2 pick.
And I think he ended up with the right organization. I think Oklahoma City is wonderful at developing young talent. The in-season tournament that the commissioner is talking about, do we have any further details on this?
No, this is, if Adam Silver was Captain Ahab, this is his Moby Dick. Like getting this in-season tournament over the line is all Adam Silver's been focused on in NBA in-season changes or season changes for the last few years. There's not an overwhelming amount of interest amongst owners to do it, in part because you've got to negotiate with the players for it. You've got to give them, like, each player from the winning team would get $1 million is one variation of this that I've seen. You'd probably have to reduce the schedule from 82 to 78 games, which doesn't seem like a lot, but affects revenue, gate revenue, TV revenue, all the above. And owners don't really have the appetite to do that as well. This is going to be tough for Silver to push over the finish line. It's certainly possible, but to me, where the owner's interest is, we can get into this. The owner's interest is in the play-in tournament and not really in the in-season tournament.
Before I let you go, I did wonder about this. If Kyrie is gone and KD goes, is Steve Nash a lame duck coach in Brooklyn?
Yeah, I don't know what Steve's appetite is for coaching a rebuilding team. Now, to be fair, the Nets are never going to be trying to rebuild, largely because they have no control of their own draft picks, right? Like, they lose, they celebrate in Houston for that because of the James Harden deal. So the Nets, and this goes back to what they're asking for in negotiations, they're far more focused right now on getting players back than they are draft picks back. The Rudy Gobert trade was nice, and the Jazz got exactly what they're looking for, but the Jazz are trending towards a full rebuild. The Nets want to remain competitive at some level. That's why they're looking at DeAndre Ayton and Mikal Bridges. That's why Jaylen Brown might make some sense. So they're going to be competitive one way or the other. But does Steve Nash want to coach a middle of the pack type playoff team? The Nets want him to coach that type of team. Look, Steve Nash, he got clobbered last year, Dan. He did. Like, he was, Ime Udoka coached circles around him in the playoffs. And Steve's not the only problem. It wasn't the only problem with that team, but he certainly didn't look like the solution, in the postseason last year. So when the dust settles on all this, that's probably going to be a conversation the Nets have, depending on what kind of team they have going into training camp.
Thank you, Chris. As always, we appreciate your time and safe travels.
Ricky Rubio, he's back.
Oh.
Big season. Let's go.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm moving to Indiana or Cleveland, wherever he is.
You don't even know where he is.
I think he's in Cleveland. He wasn't in Indiana. I think he's in Cleveland. I'm moving to Cleveland. A lot of jerseys, Dan. A lot of jerseys.
Yeah, I know. That's Chris Mannix, Sports Illustrated senior writer and the president of the Ricky Rubio fan club. Not a lot of members in there, but he is the president.